Today I'm going to be replacing the choke cable on this mid-80s E-Z-Go Marathon. It's a Jacobsen branded golf cart, but it has the dump bed on the back. It is actually an E-Z-Go Marathon is the body style, all made by the same company, Textron. The choke cable that's on there came loose. Middle of winter, it was cold, everything was cold, and I went to pull the choke cable and it came loose right from the connection, and it's all frayed at the end, which we'll see here in a second. So as you can see, the cable, it came loose, and you'd think it'd be as simple as just putting it back into the ferrule that it came out of, and it would have been if it weren't for the fact that my cable was so frayed. There's just not much left on the end here to put in, it barely reaches. Plus the fact that the cable is frayed anyway means that the best course of action here is simply just to replace the entire cable. And what I've got here is a replacement cable from Buggies Unlimited, and it's just a standard choke cable, I believe, about 2 feet long. That's the part number right there. And you can see the new cable is about the right length, maybe a little shorter than the old one, but it needs to run up here through that panel and then come back and then go back into the ferrule, and it runs through this little bracket here that sits behind the carburetor. So it's going to be no longer than it needs to be for sure. And notice the new one didn't come with a nut, so you're going to want to reuse the one that's on your cart. Don't lose that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that screw out of the end of the ferrule, and that'll release the cable. 8mm wrench will do the trick. You don't have to take it out all the way, you just want to loosen it so that this cable now comes free. And that's what happened to mine. Was it's so frayed and twisted on the end there wasn't enough left for that screw to hold it firmly, and the fact that it was so cold, it was single digits, everything was stiff, and the thing that gave was the cable just popped out rather than this little lever wanting to move. Next thing you're going to want to do is there's a nut that's on the end of that cable holding it to the bracket behind the carburetor. So right here, this nut's got to come loose. It's about 11mm, and then take a pair of pliers or something and hold the cable to prevent it from spinning. Take that nut off, and then this cable will be loose from the bracket, and then all we'll have left is the cable on the other end as it goes through the firewall, if you will, up into the cab. And then this nut also did not come with the new cable, so you're going to want to hang on to yours. And now this should be free. So then we just feed it through, and then once we get this last nut off up here, we'll be able to pull it through. And then this nut up here, I got a 22 wrench. It fits right on there. I don't know if these are actually metric. They're probably not, being it's from the 80s and it's a US cart. It's probably SAE. I'm just grabbing metric out of the box and it's working fine. None of this stuff is on particularly tight. But, so now we're loose. And I just got one last thing to do. I can see for tidiness there's a zip tie in here that's holding the wires together to keep them from floating around and maybe hitting the exhaust pipe. I'll cut that zip tie off, we'll pull the cable out. Worth mentioning is, along with that nut that held the cable on, there was an outward tooth lock washer on it. Don't lose that. And then comparing the two cables, now that that cable is out, I might have gotten the wrong one. You can see that the new one is a lot shorter than the old one. So I'm gonna have to be creative on putting that back in. I may not be able to route it in exactly the same place as the old one. We'll see how that goes. I'm just test fitting the new cable here because I'm concerned about the length. And as you can see, there is no way this is going to be long enough. It won't even make it back to the bracket. where you want to feed it through. This is the bracket. It doesn't even reach no matter how you run it. I thought maybe I'd be able to route it a little bit differently and get it to go. It's too short. There's just no way around it. So I left the tag on it, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna have to see if they've got a different cable that's longer. So as you can see, the new cable is quite a bit smaller than the old cable. There's no way to make that work. And then I looked online at Buggies Unlimited and they did not have another size. So it wasn't like I made a mistake and ordered the wrong one. For my cart, that's the one that they offer. The other ones they had are not for my cart. So I think I'd be running a risk if I tried to buy one for a Yamaha or something else and just try to make it work, because who knows if the shaft up there is the same size, or who knows if the end of it is in the same place. So what I ended up doing was I ran around and at Advanced Auto I picked up this generic choke cable, which is 6 feet long, so it's plenty long enough. I just have to cut it off, and it's not actually a cable, it's a wire inside of there, whereas these are actually cables. But it should still work. I think what I might do though, because I really need this end that's on there to be in the right place, and I need to be able to thread it into that bracket which holds the cable where it's supposed to be and make sure that everything's working like it's supposed to. I think what I might do is I might just pull my cable out of my original one, just pull this entire thing out, and then pull this cable wire out of this and put it in there. That's what I think I'm going to do. And then all I'll have to do then, instead of having to cut through this sheathing and make sure it's the right length and try to figure out some way of being able to attach the end, this end, to it, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to try and reuse this old one with the new cable or wire. That's the plan. So I pulled the cable out of this new one that I got, the Dorman from Advanced Auto. And I pulled the cable out of my original one, and then I fed the new Dorman cable / wire into my original housing. So now I'll be able to reuse my housing and the nut and everything that belongs on the machine. And I just need then to, on this end, cut this to the appropriate length, and then I'll probably do a little bend in it like you would for a lawnmower, and also run the nut through the ferrule, and hopefully that holds. That is the plan. So I have the new cable fed through the ferrule on the end, going through the bracket on the carburetor, have it routed away around the way that it was previously. I just got to get the lock washer and the nut threaded onto the back of the plunger, and then that'll be back in. And then all I need to do after that is I need to tighten this down where it needs to be, and then cut off some of this excess wire that I've got. The new cable is in. I didn't end up bending the end of that cable like I said, because the screw that you screw in actually tightened it up really nice. It's snug, it's not going anywhere. And I cut off the excess. So then, since I reused the original sheathing, everything is exactly how it was before. That nut and washer are back on nice and tight, and then on the front end we got this going on. So everything then is the same except for the knob and the wire that's inside of it. And it works pretty good. Get in there. Right there. So that worked. The cable that I actually used was a Dorman 6-foot standard utility cable, 55196, and this came from Advanced Auto. You could probably get it elsewhere. The one that I had bought from Buggies Unlimited did not work, so I'm not sure why, but that was this one, part number 370 choke cable from Buggies Unlimited. I'm going to see if I can't return it. But we're back in business. Thanks for watching.